Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I want to share with you my top 5 cultural lessons that I learned living in China. So number 1, you probably heard it before. It's called Jinze, right? And a lot of videos about that, right? But I still want to stress it because it's very important. You can call it Jinze, that takes one aspect of the game, right? But I think that I like to call it more the invisible social happening, the invisible social dynamics that are going on, because they really carry weight. So your memory, things that happen, these events, the rejections, the acceptances, all of these things, there's like an equation. But you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to think I'm gonna calculate everything like a robot. You don't have to do that, right? You got AI for calculating stuff nowadays, anyway. But you can develop this kind of intuitive sense of that calibration, right? And this all sounds very vague, but one practical thing you can do is ask yourself a question. How does this environment feel? What are the dynamics? Who's in charge? Who is younger? Because all these little details, they add up and they form something in your mind to have a bigger picture of what the social situation actually looks like. These things carry weight. So that's one very important piece of advice is train yourself to recognize the patterns of the social dynamics. Okay, and number 2, I would say would be grace is everything. What do I mean by grace is everything? There's a game called Pitch Pot. You can look it up, or I'll make another video about that anyway, if any of you are interested. And basically you take an arrow and you throw it into the pot. And in this game, it's not really about points. I mean, sure, you drink, it's like darts, right? But there are etiquette that come before it, right? And while you're playing the game, it's kind of like a performance. You walk on stage, right? And there's a risk of getting it in or misfiring. And you can take it however seriously you want to, right? It's like a game of etiquette. But the point is that when you win, people are watching the little micro expressions on your face. Are you a little bit too excited? Yeah, I got it, right? Or are you someone that when you miss a shot, you stay cool, you stay calm? So it's like you're being constantly watched about your whole calibration, and it reflects what we call in Chinese your 修养 in Chinese, 修养, right? And that's a term that kind of means your demeanor, how you approach life, how you approach victory and successes. Can you handle success? Can you handle failure, right? And it's kind of a test of that, a mini game test. Same thing with ritual archery. So number 2 would be really try to up your sense of grace and how to say no. For example, you'll notice when people give you a gift, right? When you're given a gift, when you're given a compliment, or when you're rejected, all these different things. A good way to develop that kind of grace is instead of flat out rejecting, you can give like what we call in the West an excuse. And yeah, you're like, I don't want to be phony. Yeah, no, you're right. That works in a Western system. But in a Chinese social dynamic, it's not about being phony. It's not about being inauthentic. It's about grace. You want to have that level of grace. Okay, and then number 3 would be that, and this is going to sound interesting, and when I say begin with the end in mind, that sounds a lot like self-help, reference videos you'll find all over YouTube. That's not my intention. What I mean is that begin with the lowest standard, the ending point, the final straw for you. For example, like in bargaining. Now, don't go lowballing people. That's not what I'm telling you. But when you bargain, you want to start at that baseline, right? If you're the customer, if you're the guy that's selling, fish at the market, one guy wants to take all your money, right? One guy wants to save every penny, and that's normal. There's nothing wrong with that. But what you do is that you want to begin with no. Begin with, I'll think about that. Begin with a rejection before you close that gap, right? And it's like driving. When something's off, you don't usually accelerate. You want to slow down, wait for the red light. Something's off, something's fishy, slow down. Same thing in Chinese culture where people give you a gift. You don't want to accept it immediately. You want to match that energy immediately. You want to take it easy. You want to take it slow, right? That's number 3. Number 4 is that there are analogies everywhere. There are metaphors everywhere. There are poetic terms, poetic context everywhere. And what do I mean with all this? What's the point of all it? Well, when you have a culture that is like surrounded with metaphors, right? You'll realize that, instead of just pure logic in a situation, oh, person A said this, person B said that, and that just they mean what they say. It's not really like that anymore. Things are less direct. Things are more, there's a whole feel. Try to train yourself. In any dinner you go to with, your CEOs or your business partners or even just a local town, right? Ask yourself constantly, what's really going on? And you'll learn like this. I mean, just that piece of advice, right? It's not too broad. Try it. What's really going on? You'll start getting answers because your brain is a problem-solving machine, right? You ask yourself once, okay, what's really going on? I see their body language. Oh, what's really going on? When you pick up that subtext, you'll take a step further into Chinese culture because that's a lot of what's really being said is in the subtext. And you'll notice little things like the body language, like the dynamics behind it, and what is the relationship between all these 8 people that you're having dinner with, and what is the real thing they're trying to get done. Because if you just follow the text, you're not always going to catch on, even if your Chinese is really good. You got to learn to pick up what's really being said, and that will be hinted to you through analogies. And yeah, in the West, you can say, it's a passive aggressive, or that's like passive aggressive, or in the West, you'll say, they're beating the bush or whatever. Yeah, sure, but you know what? It works because what works for one society doesn't necessarily translate into another society. So each one has its benefits, its pros and cons, right? And if you are coming to China, I think if you could take anything that I said today, this would be a really important one. So always, train yourself to keep asking yourself, what's really going on? What's beneath the surface? And the better you get at that, the more accurate you will predict what's going on, okay? Number 5 would be genuinely curious about the culture. And this is, you'll hear this everywhere, and it applies. I mean, generally when someone's interested in your culture, in your way of doing things, in your lifestyle, if you feel the respect, and that's okay. But it is especially important in China because there's this whole, how deep Chinese culture is. It is a source of pride. And, you're not being phony, you're being really curious about what do I say to this person? How do I act with this person? What is their lifestyle? When you genuinely have that interest in you, people can feel it, that real spark, right? And it's in a way, you do actually have to look at the world differently. Look at a cup of rice, it's no longer a cup of rice. It's the people behind it. It's the patty that it was before. It's the whole symbolic meaning of generations being passed down, things like that. And people will really feel that. And when they feel that connection, your whole social cred will skyrocket. And this is a situation in which you do get points for trying. So try to learn the language. You could be terrible at it. You could be, anything, but hey, you will get points for trying. Okay, that's today's video. I hope this was helpful to you. And if you found it helpful, you can give me a like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot, and I will continue to do more videos that will bring you value. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.